we just did a little experiment here, which was kind of interesting because what the FBI is telling us is that that Ring camera Nest, it's the Nest, went offline at 1:47 a.m. And what we have seen, thanks to our own experiment, is pulling the camera off of its base does not turn it offline. If it runs out of the charge, it would go offline, but presumably that didn't happen just as the bad guy arrived. Disconnecting it from Wi-Fi could show you that it's offline, but we have no reason to believe he cut some sort of a Wi-Fi line. And what happened in our experiment was it did not disconnect until we literally brought the hammer down on it. And that is when it disconnected. And so if that is true, in fact, we have the video now, they've turned it. Here it is. Here's video from the camera of me bringing the hammer down on it. I guess, okay, I'm getting ready. I'm putting my glasses on, and this is the little, okay, there it is. That's me hammering it. Oh, hold on. And before I've actually touched it, it's going to go offline. And so it goes offline actually like a second before it's all destroyed. But the point is, at 1:47, now it's offline, at 1:47 a.m., he must have destroyed it. So all this stuff is happening, we think, before 1:47 a.m., moving the timeline back a little bit, because let's not forget, this video doesn't show him succeeding in destroying it. It shows him putting vegetation in front of it. So like there was a longer time there. And I don't know, how much longer he was standing there in front of the Guthrie home with his ski mask on and his gun showing to everybody that, it took him to finally get the camera disconnected. And still, 10 minutes later or so, it caught an image, or I think it was at 2:12, it caught an image of a body. Okay, let me ask you guys, because you're the experts at like the profile of who's doing bad acts, who's doing things like this. And I'll start with you on it, Jim. We haven't talked a lot about it, but the fact that Savannah Guthrie is a national celebrity, I mean, news people don't like to be called celebrities, but she is something that's probably getting too little play as we consider motivations here. Your thoughts?
Is that for Jim Fitzgerald or James Hamilton?
Yeah, that's for James Hamilton. Oh. Fitzgerald's Fitz now. Gotcha. We know him well, so he's Fitz.
Gotcha.
Go ahead, James.
Thanks for that. Yeah, clearly anyone in the public eye is going to, get some scrutiny and also get things like this. So I wouldn't put it past it. Certainly there's a relationship that the investigators are looking at. And, for people like you, people who are in the public eye, certainly there's going to, need to be some type of security protocols and training and just a general awareness that is really above the general person, because you are related to a high visibility type of individual. And that certainly can't be discounted.
What do you think the likelihood is, Will, that Savannah's public figure status is a motivation here in some way?
I think it's highly likely, Megyn. I've dealt with a number of cases where, certainly in terms of either some sort of fixation or certainly targeting, this was a targeted attack. And what will generally happen if it is a kidnapping, and it turns out to be a kidnapping, it will be to go through the path of least resistance. And that is to target a family member who won't necessarily have the same level or status of security around them, whether that be in their home or whether they have any specific security that's assigned to them by their company or by their organization. So this was a targeted attack. To target children is quite often the case, but it can be elderly family members. So, my gut at the moment is this is directly connected, obviously, to Savannah. And I think this ultimately, it wasn't a burglary, that's for sure. And certainly in terms of the condition of Nancy, that's obviously going to be very difficult to tell until such time as a proof of life in some shape or form is delivered.
So when you thought that, Will, you thought it's related to Savannah. How did seeing the pictures yesterday influence your opinion at all, if at all?
Well, I certainly I've been watching, as James, obviously the lead up and what you guys have been covering before we came and joined you. And I would say they came very ill prepared. They're not entirely professional. I've seen highly professional groups. There would have been no doubt some advanced reconnaissance, but not sophisticated enough to be able to determine how to remove a Ring doorbell. And certainly a good organized professional kidnappers will look at all aspects of denying electricity, denying power, and then obviously considering anything that is remotely powered, like a Ring doorbell. So, I looked at them, looked at the position like you guys were talking about, so the position of his firearm, overtly, not covertly, in an abdomen sort of concealed carry way. And in terms of obviously his outfit, what he was wearing, there are a lot of identifiers on there, which I think the law enforcement agencies and obviously the federal agencies will be following up on and chasing, obviously, to try and determine where he may have sourced these items.
Mm-hmm. And how about you, James? What do you think?
Well, I enjoyed listening to you all earlier, and just a couple of things. I'm going to go out on a little bit of a limb here. I'm not so convinced this is a guy. Until I can have absolute, proof that this is a male. The eyes seem like eyeliner. I wouldn't put it past being a woman.
It does look like he's wearing eyeliner. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. It does look like he's wearing eyeliner in the one shot. Yes.
So I'm not going to go there. I will say a friend of ours, James Gaglione, has been on site there, and he said how dark it is, that area. And to me, that would certainly explain, this silly carrying of the firearm. Well, if he was getting, like Fitz was saying, if he's getting out of a car and walking up to the house, then, putting it in this stupid way that he's carrying it, or the person's carrying the firearm, I don't see the problem with that one, because no one's going to see it. It's so dark there. No one's going to see the stupid carry of the firearm. And lastly, I would just say that we can, yeah, he or she looks stupid and looks strange and doing some strange things, but let's not discount the success here. It has been 10 days. We have not heard a word. We are no closer to catching this person, and they've been on the run now for 10 days. And the FBI, is the best in the business, and they haven't caught him. So he's not completely stupid. And,
James, let me ask you a follow-up. Good point. You were at the FBI for almost 25 years, I think. You worked kidnappings. Like, does this look like a professional kidnapping? Like, is kidnapping even common?
No, it's extremely rare. And, I was saying earlier to somebody, in 23 years in law enforcement, I think I worked 2 of them. And so unless you're in New York or LA in the hotbed of these things, it doesn't happen a lot. And what you see frequently is they happen in these places like we're seeing here, and the police don't have a lot of experience working these types of cases. They're very rare. Why? Because, it's a lot easier to kill somebody than to kidnap them. And why? Because something's going to, there's usually some type of a struggle. There's some type of injury. We saw it with, Sidney Reza with Exxon. We're seeing it now. In this case, there's, her blood on the porch. It's very difficult to kidnap somebody, and they're just very rarely done. The thing I don't like about this case is we have not had any proof of life. Communications through a TMZ, the kidnappings I've been involved in, go right to the family. They go to where the money is. They want to get the money. That's why they did the kidnapping. This whole thing has been very strange to me as I'm looking at it from an outsider.
Well, how, in their defense, like, is it 20, or, we're 90 hard to the break, and then we'll come back, but it's not going to be easy to get Savannah Guthrie's phone number. Like, how do the kidnappers normally get the contact information of the family?
Yeah, well, the same way they got her mother. They can contact the family. The family will, it's pretty well known. You contact the police, and police are in contact with the family. You contact the FBI, and they'll put you in touch. I mean, that's not that difficult to go through Levin at TMZ. That's just bizarre to me. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? I mean, is it for attention because you're enjoying?
I've seen occasions
seeing your story in the news.
I have seen occasions, Megyn, where a third party will be utilized. I mean, but it is very counterintuitive to the fact that one of the biggest enemies to a kidnapper, if this is indeed a kidnapping, is media publicity. And the greater the publicity that takes place, and I've worked a couple of cases where, because it garnished so much media attention, it actually didn't end in a very positive outcome, obviously, for the hostage. So I would agree with James. Yeah. TMZ is an interesting choice, but certainly in terms of,
because normally you hear, like, this may be just movie stuff, and forgive me for interrupting you. We're going to continue this though as we take a break. But normally normally you hear them saying like, don't involve the police and don't involve anybody and keep it on the down low. They want to keep it under the radar. International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced strategy. It gives you peace of mind given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold, so you too can have peace of mind regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.